We have to have lawsuits because in litigation you get documents out from under seal that show that the companies have known about the risks. They have known about the risk of suicide, and it's really hard when you see in black and white the documents that show that they've known, and my husband's dead and countless of others are dead. On August 6, 2003, I received a call that forever changed the trajectory of my life. My dad called to tell me that my husband was found hanging from the rafters of our garage, dead at age 37. Woody wasn't depressed. He had no history of depression or any other mental illness. The greater the motivation a corporation has to shield its operation, the greater the need for the public to know.
Professor Schippers, may I ask you some questions?
Yes, of course. What do you want to know, Rico?
This conference is really about scientific freedom, but at the same time the deadly consequences of lack of scientific freedom. So I think that's very good shown. And I also thought this is a form of post-traumatic growth as a scientist, that you do something good for society to make sure it doesn't happen again to other people, what happened to you. So how do you think you can go forward with this, and how can we as a society change? Because the scale has grown tremendously, because now I think a lot of people notice something's wrong with the big pharma and something's wrong with all these things. How do you see that when COVID-19 happened?
Well, first of all, I will say I love that post-traumatic growth, because that is how it was really part of my healing. So the idea that as people and victims can't tell their story, or anybody, that is part of our healing, in whether COVID, whether it's your own being censored as a scientist, that is part of our being able to tell our story, right? And it's part of the conversation. I would say that what I've seen with not being able, it's just about having conversations. I'm going to go back to Ioannidis. Like, we should be able to have conversations. We should be able to, with different points of view. And I always say that this work that I do, you shouldn't have to learn the hard way what's really been going on. And even for a lot of people who've been harmed or potential harm, whether they're scientists or the politicians, why do they have to? And a lot of people change once it becomes personal. And sometimes the personal is what changes, but we should be trying to do it so we don't have to experience the personal.
Hi, Kim. I was really impressed with your talk. I read your story a few years ago and suddenly clicked, oh, that's you. That's the same person talking about your husband taking medicine, and a medicine that has a known history of suicidal side effects, let's put it that way. And and then it gave you, when you were telling your story, that you were fighting the company, or fighting for justice, basically. I got a feeling as a psychologist, okay, this is a form of post-traumatic growth, but it's after a trauma has occurred, you grow, but it's self-transcendent post-traumatic growth, because you want to make sure that other people don't get the same experience as you had. Is that a little bit correct?